ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Retro Warriors episode 558.
Woo!
As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by viable human Chris Saturn.
Hi, Justin.
Hi, Saturn.
We made it.
Here to 11:30 at night
Yay.
on a Thursday on our second episode with no difficulties.
Yeah, it's totally
Nothing.
smooth sailing tonight.
Nothing has been difficult. It's all very normal and good and awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Everything is awesome.
Yeah, everything in the world is just going
It's
great.
Great. Things are fantastic.
Perfect. We're not moments away from COVID-2.
Oh, don't even put it in the world, Saturn. Why would you do? Oh my God. What's wrong with you? Housekeeping. We have a Matrix server. There's a link to all of our shit in the show description.
You can live with us in the Matrix.
Yeah, join us in the Matrix. I've taken to saying whenever someone says something, I'll be like, yeah, someone said in the Matrix said blah, 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 blah. And that's my new. I like saying that.
Nice. How often do you have to say that?
Forever. I'm going to say it forever because I got to pay to host the server. So
I mean,
I'm
how
gonna say
often does that come up in conversation?
Oh, how often? I thought you said how long do I have to say it?
No.
Often? Pretty often because almost everyone I talk to is in Matrix. So I get to constantly be like, yes, my friend in the Matrix was telling me.
I only talk to the people in the Matrix, so there's never any situation where I have to reference the Matrix because I'm already there.
Oh, no. It's usually to my wife.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you live with people.
I do live with people. There are other people in my house.
My cat never asked me about what's going on in the Matrix server.
You could tell her if you wanted.
I could, but she's pretty dumb.
This is an utter and complete tangent, but we have a kitty on my back porch that comes and hangs out with my kitty sometimes. And he's orange and white and really skittish. And just because he's mostly orange, every time I see him outside being skittish, I'm like, oh, you like Saturn's cat.
Yeah.
All you orange skittish cats. Like that's a thing.
You're stereotyping
they all share. But he does let me pet him now.
My cat is very afraid of people, but she's very, very social with me. Like if it's just me and her at home, she has to be near me in the room with me at all times when she is awake, except for when we record the show. Then she gets scared and hides in the closet for some reason.
Who is he talking to?
Right? Like I know
she knows you're contacting other humans and she does not approve of this.
Right? She just right now I can see her staring at me from the closet.
My week. I don't know if I talked about it. I picked up and have been playing a little more Ultra Kill.
Okay.
Still not totally sure how I feel about it. I feel like I mentioned it on the show. I could check, but I won't.
Sounds right. Yeah.
It's a first-person shooter. Very like movement based. I finally had to turn. There are accessibility options, a bunch of them, so you can turn on cheats and slow motion mode and stuff. I finally had to turn them on because it just got way too tough for me.
Is it one of those that's classified as a boomer shooter?
No, I think if you saw a screenshot, you would think that it is.
That's probably where I got that impression.
So it like without motion, you would definitely look at it and be like, yeah, that looks like a Doom thing.
Yeah.
But it's very much not.
Okay.
Although it is very similar to Doom Eternal, which is not a boomer shooter. The lineage is weird. It's a weird game.
Yeah.
But I've been playing a little bit more of that. And then I forgot that it was coming out because I've been so busy. But Slay the Spire 2 hit early access on Steam, so I bought it instantaneously. And have been playing and very much enjoying Slay the Spire 2.
I have started Slay the Spire 2. I have not played as much as you have, I don't think. I've only finished 2 runs now.
Okay, I've unlocked, I think I'm missing one character still. I've probably done 7 or 8 runs, I've made it to the end of Act 3 twice, as far as I've made it.
Also, made
so
it to the end of Act 3 twice now.
Yeah, I won't spoil it for anyone, but my first bite, like I booted the game up and I played it, and you're playing as Ironclad, and you're like, oh, it's just Slay the Spire again. And then you play a little more, and you're like, oh no, there's so much more.
Yeah. It's all the like adjacent stuff that has been added to. Like the core gameplay feels mostly the same, but then like all the like question mark spaces and the bits in between stages, arenas, whatever they're called. All of that is what feels different and new and enhanced.
And granted, there's new characters too, which are obviously make it very different. And it does start you on Ironclad, so it feels very similar at first. So it's there's a lot of different stuff that it doesn't. I like that it doesn't throw it at you all at once.
Right. Yeah.
I also it's very much like as I was playing it, I was like, man, we don't get sequels like this anymore, where they're like,
Right.
hey, the core of the game was good and we're keeping it.
Right.
Here's just more stuff and new ways to use these tools that you already have.
Yeah.
And so I very much appreciated it, and it's been very good so far. It's kind of been a problem because I've been so busy lately with all the computer stuff and the server stuff,
Yeah.
and my kid was sick and all this other shit going on. Also, she started playing volleyball, so that's like multiple nights a week that I'm having to sit at volleyball games and practice and all this stuff. And so
Yeah.
I have no game time, and I was like, let's slap this on top of everything else I got and all the Trails games I got to play and the Dragon Quest sitting on my shelf, and it's gonna be fine. It's great.
And it has a
but
native Linux port, so
It does, and I've
Yeah.
just kind of abandoned everything to play Slay the Spire 2
Yeah.
because I'm like, this is good. This is simple. I like
Right.
this. I also picked up a game on Andrew's recommendation. I had been learning some Python because I
You like
used to
snakes.
program. I love snakes.
Yeah.
I used to program. I was a C programmer, not C+, just C. I programmed in ANSI C, and that's what I knew, and that's what I liked, and I didn't learn anything else, and then I quit programming, and then I got an English degree, and now I'm old.
Yeah.
And I was doing all this server stuff, and it came up multiple times that it would have been really useful if I knew Python.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'll go learn some Python. That'll be fun.
Will it?
And yeah, it
Okay.
has been. It's a really cool language. It's really interesting. Coming from C anyway, coming from a language made in the 70s to one that was made in, I think Python was made in the late 90s.
My high school programming class was HTML and then Fortran and then C++.
Yeah, that would make me hate computers.
Yeah, basically. Well, HTML I was pretty good at. I liked that one. But and also Java. He also made us do Java in the middle there between Fortran and C++. So yeah, I did not enjoy any of those.
If you were designing a course load to torture me, it would be those things. So
Yeah.
But I was talking to Andrew about it because I knew a while back he was learning Python, and I was like, hey, if you were learning Python stuff, I'm kind of trying to learn it right now. And he was like, well, I picked up this game to learn it. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And it's a game called The Farmer Was Replaced. And in the game, the farmer is gone, and the farm is now maintained by one single drone.
Okay.
Who you have to program. Now, I've seen programming games like this before. Zachtronics has a couple of them, or a couple dozen of them. I think that's kind of all they make. But it's like literally you are writing Python, like actual real Python code to program this thing. Now, they have some custom libraries in there, some custom functions that are part of the game, but that's also kind of how Python works. Whatever you're working in, you'll use a library for whatever that task is. And so I'd gone through some basic tutorials, but ended up spending, a good 10 hours just learning Python in this game.
Nice.
And first of all, it was a great way to learn Python or, get reacquainted with the basics and learn some new stuff. But also, it's just a really fun game.
Nice.
And so I'll say this: if you don't even know like the basics of programming, like I don't know what a variable is, I don't know what a loop is, then it might be a little bit of a struggle. But I think if someone literally spent like an hour doing like a YouTube video tutorial of like, this is what programming is, here is Python, then they could go straight from that into this game and learn a lot and have a really good time.
Nice. Can you make your little drone look cute?
You can. As you play, you unlock different hats that you can
nice.
put on your drone. So, and then also all the stuff you harvest goes into a floating piggy bank, which is also cute.
Oh, that is cute. Yeah.
So it has been really fun.
Nice.
Because just as someone that wanted to learn Python for like basic tasks, stuff like Guy was talking about earlier on was that the pre-show?
On the pre-show,
pre-show today.
Yeah, because he wasn't on the regular show.
Right. Right. It's late. And then that took me, I didn't finish it, but I got to a point where I was like, I've kind of unlocked everything. And I might come back to play the game part, but the Python learning part, I need to take elsewhere.
Right.
And so then I have been playing around with Pygame, the Pygame library, which is just a game programming library, and goofing around with like making sprites and collision and things that Taito invented back in the 70s. And it's been a good time. I've been having a good time with it. been spending a lot of hours doing Python stuff, and also just remembering how stupid I am because, man, programming makes you feel so fucking stupid. You get something wrong. I shouldn't say the royal you. I will get something wrong, stare at it for 2 hours, and then be like, oh, the thing is inside the loop that I'm trying to run. Of course, it's going to keep doing it over and over.
Yeah, I had that issue when because last episode I was talking about asking Gemini about Linux from scratch, and I was sitting there staring at it for hours and hours, and Gemini was completely unhelpful. And then I finally realized there was a step that I skipped like 8 pages ago. So yeah.
So I've been learning some Python, and it's been a good time. It's a good time learning that stuff. I don't really have a task for it. This is my problem with programming. This is a problem I always run into is I'll learn how to do it, and I'll be like, cool, I know how to do that now. But if you, it's like spelling or writing or something. If you don't do it regularly, you forget it pretty fast.
Yep.
But I don't have any tasks to perform.
Yep.
So I don't have anything to do with it.
That was where I was at, because I had learned to program the very first time on my Commodore 64, which when you first turn on an old Commodore PC from back then, you don't get like a user prompt. You get a compiler. You're thrown straight into Commodore Basic.
Yeah.
And so I just learned Basic doing some stuff, and we had a couple of books that were relatively straightforward that would show you how to do basic things in Basic. And so I had learned some programming in Basic, and as soon as I had learned how to do the things in the tutorials, I was like, all right, so now what do I do?
Right. You're like, like, what do
I do
in
with
there
this?
And you can take the tutorial and change the color of something or move something around, but then you're like, all right, now what do I? So that's part of the reason I'm doing Pygame, is because I know games and I can come up with I don't know, it'd be cool to do, let's do Pong. I'll make a Pong. I'm not, but I can come up with a task for myself in terms of a very simple game.
What if you could make an electronic Pong?
I could call it Ella Pong. No, today's great triumph was I made a little wizard sprite, and I made him collide with.
Picture that.
I made him collide with a square, and the square knew that it. I invented collision. Now it doesn't stop it; he just runs right over it. Doesn't physically stop him, but they know they're touching.
Yeah.
Anyway, what have you been playing?
Also some Slay the Spire.
Yes.
And my very first run of the new Slay the Spire, I found a bird friend.
Oh, I did see that. I've not found the bird friend. And immediately you shared that, and I was upset. I don't have a fucking bird friend.
It was one of the question mark tiles. I had found an egg somewhere, and if I ate it, I would immediately get some bonus. And if I didn't eat it, something could happen. And I didn't eat it. When I got to the next campsite, it gave me a third option of hatch egg. And so I hatched the egg, and then I had a bird friend.
I got the egg, and then I think I died or something. I didn't get to see I didn't get to see my baby born.
Yeah. As soon as all it does is, one, it stands next to you, which is really worth it. That's all I needed.
Yeah.
But also it gives you a card, which is a free attack, 0 energy cost, that does like 14 damage to one enemy, and it's just the bird runs over and attacks.
I see. It's a chocobo summon.
Basically, yeah, it's great. Love it. Love the little bird.
Nice.
Anyway, also that new Scott Pilgrim game, Scott Pilgrim EX.
Yes, we were sent review copies of this.
Yeah.
And I felt very bad about it because they very kindly sent us review copies, and I booted it up like twice and was just too busy to play much. I did play a little bit, and it seemed, first of all, fun, but also way more involved and like more everything than like the original Scott Pilgrim game, which is
I didn't get far enough to get to any of the involved stuff. I played far enough to see that it's got a lot of the same kind of stuff that the first one did, but it seems to throw it at you faster than the first one did. Also, you get to play as the X's instead of as the hero characters from the first game.
Yes,
so,
I thought that was fun.
I immediately was just playing as Roxy for a while. It's neat. Yeah. It seems fine. I've never been a huge brawler person, so I don't know how far I'm going to stick with it, but it's fine. I did, however, spend a lot of time playing Mini Shoot Adventures because it came out on consoles now.
Yeah, you were like, I just played through Mini Shoot Adventures 7 times. I might do it again.
I immediately played through it like 3 or 4 times in a row. It's so good. It's such a
I need to
good
go
fucking
back to
game.
it.
First of all, for people who didn't play it or didn't hear me rant about it last time, it's basically a 2D Zelda game, but the combat is a bullet hell shooter.
Yeah.
And the things that I love about it is that it respects your time, because if you're not a big bullet hell shooter fan, it's got accessibility options. So you can set the speed down to half normal speed, or you can turn on an invincibility, or you can turn on infinite energy, or different things to make the shooting easier for you. And if you're a big fan of bullet hell shooters but aren't very good at exploration Zelda style games, you can get items in the game that will show you where every dungeon and cave in the game is, so you don't have to go hunting for them, and it'll show you if you've collected all the items in each one of those caves. So it makes the game very, very accessible and user-friendly for people who don't have a shitload of time to devote to it.
Yeah.
But also it's just super adorable and cute and charming.
But
And
most
I love
importantly, it is very cute, and that is the most
Yeah.
important portion of it.
It's just so cute. It's an adorable little game.
I need to get back to it. I had started on Steam, and I was enjoying it. I don't remember
Yeah.
what happened. I think I was probably
dare you.
like, let's do 10 RPGs in a row, and I just didn't go
Yeah, that's
back.
what you do.
Unfortunately, yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, but it's so good. I played, because I picked it up on Xbox because now it's on consoles, and then I played through it, and then I realized the only achievement I didn't get in my one playthrough was to play the game on hard. So I was like, well, I guess I'm going to restart it on hard. And then I
Yeah.
played through it on hard, and then I went back to look at my Steam play, and I had not finished it on hard on that. I was like, well, I guess I have to replay it on Steam now.
Or you
That's,
have to.
I
You
have to.
do that.
The only complaints I have with it are, one, there's no in-game map for the dungeons, which
Mm,
is annoying, but they're also not big enough to really be that big of an issue.
Yeah.
And two, the post-game trial challenge gauntlet arena thing is pretty tough. It's tougher than I would like, but you just turn on accessibility and then it's fine.
yeah. Yeah.
So that's the only real issues that I have with the game. Other than that, 10 out of 10, just fantastic, worth getting.
Let's do some news.
Okay.
Microsoft officially confirmed Project Helix, their upcoming console that will also play PC games from other storefronts.
Yeah.
So in other words, you're
It's a
making a
PC.
computer.
Now they did say that
computer.
it will play the games from Steam and EGS. They specifically mentioned Steam and EGS, and they will play them in both PC mode and in console mode. I don't know what that means yet. I'm guessing it just has a big picture mode like Steam does.
Yeah, I don't know. It makes me sad that
Yeah.
we're at a stage where this isn't exciting news.
Yeah.
Because 10 years ago, this would have been very exciting news.
Well, that's because Valve beat them to the punch.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
It's just too little, too late. Now, if they also were telling me that, hey, this will be backward compatible with the exact same Xbox disc-based games that the current Xbox is,
That
and
is
will
what they have
maintain
implied.
that. Have they implied that? They
Yes.
haven't said it, but
They haven't said it outright. They have said that it should have backwards compatibility with the same things that the current Xbox is backwards compatible
right.
with. They didn't explicitly say with physical media though, and that's where I'm worried.
Yeah. I'm if I can still put an original Xbox disc in it that
Right.
is backward compatible and it'll play and
Yeah.
it's a PC that only does game stuff, okay, I'm kind of on board with that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
But
Now,
we'll see.
my concern is most of my original Xbox games are already not backwards compatible with the current Xbox.
Yeah.
So I would love to see the backwards compatibility program restarted and expanded, but I don't expect that.
Also, the This Is an Xbox campaign is dead, presumably
Aw.
because everything in the universe became an Xbox, so
Yeah,
there's no
so they
longer
don't need to anymore.
a need for it. We are all Xboxes.
My N-Gage is an Xbox. I can side talk
Yes.
into it.
My PlayStation's an Xbox.
Yeah. Well, that one is an
Uh,
Xbox because you can play Xbox games on it.
This is true.
Yeah.
This is true. Former Sega staffer Junichi Naoi confirmed that the long-fabled Sega Saturn graphics accelerator was an actual in-development attachment that could have allowed for Virtua Fighter 3 on the Saturn.
That would have been amazing.
It would have been pretty cool.
I was so excited about the idea of this back when it was first announced. I was like, oh, you could upgrade a console to play better games on the same console. Granted, they'd already done the 32X, but this
Right.
felt different because you would use the same CD drive. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. And then it never happened.
Yeah. Well, it was real, Saturn. They were making it for you, and then they took it from you.
And they took it from me.
Nintendo has sued the United States government over tariffs collected on the Nintendo Switch 2 and other hardware, demanding repayment, interest, and lawyers' fees. I know this is a very serious issue, but the first thought in my head is it's like the final boss of litigation, and Nintendo's like, we've sued everyone else. Now the only one left, this is the United States government.
I know we try to avoid politics on this show.
We do,
for lots of good reasons. But everything is political. Some people, their lives are political, so they can't avoid it. And I get that. You can't avoid it all the time. But this, man, on the one hand, there's all these things I want to say about this.
On the one hand, I get that Nintendo did get kind of screwed by it, but on the other hand, any money they'd win in the lawsuit is
coming
taxpayer money.
Right?
It's a shitty situation.
Yeah.
And I'm also reaching a point where I have to stop talking about it because I'm going to start commenting on it. I mean, it sucks and is stupid, and it sucks that this is.
Yeah, it sucks that it had to happen. Everything about it sucks.
Also, the Pokemon Company, along with several other game companies, separately pushed back against the copyright infringing tweets from the federal American government.
Yeah, which also shouldn't have happened. So
nope,
I don't like any of that.
I'm this one I'm glad to see.
Yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, they have not yet pushed forward any litigation about it. They are simply talking out against it, which is step one, I guess.
Yeah, that is the first step, is to complain and then sue.
Yeah, I guess that is the American way.
Yeah. Valve briefly mentioned that they hope to release the new Steam hardware in 2026, though this was later walked back as a misstatement. They misspoke about having hope. Man, we're really in 2026, aren't we?
So they said that they didn't mean to imply that there was a chance it wouldn't be distributed in 2026. They just were trying to not speak in definitives about a thing that hasn't happened yet.
Right. They also put out a request for anyone who has a lead on where to get a bunch of RAM in bulk. Oh, this is sad.
Yeah, that one is implied to have been a joke, but also I don't think it's really a joke.
What's frustrating is for a device like this.
Yeah.
The window is so much more limited than like a higher end machine, because the Steam machine, like it's I don't think it's a bad machine, but it's kind of mid tier. It's kind of that's kind of what it has to be, right?
Yeah. It was already low end of mid tier, and if it
so
gets pushed back
to then be low end of
mid
mid tier, and then it's a year later, a year and a half later, now your value proposition has gone through the floor.
Yeah,
and your cost to keep the project alive has skyrocketed. That doesn't bode well.
No,
so I'm a little worried about the hardware.
Same.
NetEase has canceled funding. Yeah. NetEase has canceled funding for Gang of Dragon after Nagoshi Studio requested an additional $44 million in funding to finish the game. Nagoshi Studio is now reportedly facing closure. I'm very upset about this because Gang of Dragon looked awesome.
It did look really good.
I was so excited. I was so excited for it.
Yeah.
This is a bummer. There's been a lot of talk about why did this many years in development they need suddenly $44 million just to keep the doors open, and there's some
because he spent all the previous money on sneakers.
There's some concern that maybe it points to poor management or something going on. But at the end of the day, cool looking game isn't happening now, and that's upsetting. So that's a bummer.
That's 2 for 2 of announcements this week from the Keighley Awards of things that were really hyped up at the Keighley Awards and then ended up falling flat on their face.
What was the other thing?
It was the one last thing announcement at the end of the show was a hero shooter called High Guard.
Oh, yeah, that died.
Yeah, it's already been canceled within a few weeks of its release, and the studio is getting dissolved.
Man, tough times.
Right.
8-Bit Mod's VMU Pro for Dreamcast can now play Game Boy games multiplayer by emulating a link cable using the VMU Connect feature.
So adorable.
It's so dumb, and I love it. I love that it exists.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
EA has announced layoffs across the Battlefield studios. Saturn, answer a question for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did Battlefield 6 do well?
I don't know enough about Battlefield to answer this question, but I believe I heard it did all right. Yeah.
Yes, I can confirm it did extremely well.
Oh, I see.
Some would say revived the franchise and interest in it.
You should fire all of its staff then.
That does seem like the smart thing to do, right?
Well, you could replace them with Vibe Code.
Oh, God. No, please don't. They already struggle enough to fucking push updates for that game. My God.
Well, maybe we could find a new AI that's trained on real life warfare and make it code Battlefield for us.
I want you to stop talking about potential things that are going to happen in the future immediately.
I immediately depressed myself. As I started that sentence, I thought it was going to be a joke, and the more I said, the more real
you got
it sounded.
sadder as it went on. SAG-AFTRA has issued a do not work order on Mega Man Dual Override after Capcom refused to pay union wages to prior Mega Man voice actors. Fucking come on. Did anything cool happen? Is it just VMUs playing Game Boy games?
Yeah, everything else is just shitty this week.
Yeah, I saw this one. It sucks. It sucks for that voice actor who now is doesn't get to do the role. It sucks for the project. It sucks that Capcom wouldn't pay the union wages. It just sucks.
Yeah, never think about that.
Falcom announced a new Dragon Slayer game in their 45th anniversary event. Yeah,
I'm excited.
Also, the final Trails game will be announced in 2031. If
Which
we're
isn't
still
that far
here,
away, honestly,
with a planned release in 2032. I stand by my "if we're still here" statement.
Yeah, I mean it's 5 years. A lot could happen between now and then, but it's not as far away as it sounds when you say 2031.
Yeah. So what is this new Dragon Slayer? Because I saw that they announced it, but I didn't see what it was.
That's pretty much all they've said is that it will be a new Dragon Slayer.
Period.
And that could be fucking anything because the series went all over the place. Because it had games that were nearly text adventures. It had 2D dungeon crawlers. It had action platformers. It had action RPGs, and it had RPGs. So it could be anything.
Falling block puzzle game.
Right, yeah. Be a driving dating sim.
There you go. Perfect. The developer of Chained Echoes has finally ended their contract with First Press Games after they still haven't shipped Switch 1 copies of the game after 4 years.
Yeah.
They will offer refunds and other options to Kickstarter backers, so good on them for trying to make it right. That sucks that happened to them.
I still occasionally read posts on forums for physical Switch collectors and for collectors of those limited press game companies.
Yeah.
And the recurring joke has been that whenever anybody asks when any game is going to release, the joke is, I don't know, sometime before Chained Echoes.
Great.
Yeah.
Peggy is overhauling their rating system to address loot boxes as well. They should, as well. They all should. Good.
Absolutely should. I'm very happy
gambling.
about this. It's silly that old Dragon Quest games would be rated Peggy 18 for an in-game casino, but a game with an actual loot box casino is totally fine. And so I'm glad they're
and sold
this.
to children.
Yes.
Yeah. Video Gamer was removed from Google results after pivoting to AI-generated articles. What I don't get is why Google removed them and not the other tens of thousands of
not
AI
literally
slop.
every other site.
Like I know that you know how to identify it because you make an AI.
Not
You're
a good
Google.
one.
No, not a good one.
No.
But you make one. So good that happened, but also that's like
I want to know what the criteria is.
Be video gamer? I don't know.
like just let us know how it got to this point so that we can then help find other culprits and report them to you.
And finally, Lutris developer is hiding AI co-authorship from the software after backlash. I read this one and I'm a little torn on it.
Yeah.
Because they gave kind of a heartfelt post that was like, look, I've been a programmer for 30 years. I know what I'm doing. I did use AI to help me get through some backlogged features that I was behind on because I had been sick in the last year.
But then on the other hand, he was kind of snarky about it too.
He was kind of snarky. And so this is where I'm torn, where I'm like, look, I get that. You are a programmer. You have enough experience at a big enough project that you could, I don't.
This AI generated.
Yeah,
code
you could
and everything.
review it and know you're not
Yeah.
just vibe coding this shit, right? Because a lot of work is tedium,
Right.
and offsetting tedium onto an AI and then double checking it. Like,
That's what it's for.
I don't know that there's anything necessarily philosophically wrong with that.
Right.
But then they ended it with, all right, I'm going to remove the Claude co-authorship, and then they put, so good luck figuring out what's generated and what is not.
Yeah, that feels like not the correct reaction.
Got a little shitty at the end there, but
A little bit,
yeah. Well, I think we're going to see more of this, and we're just going to need to figure out where we land on it. And
Yeah.
their use case didn't seem particularly offensive to me. Now, if I could decide that, hey, no one's going to ever use LLMs again, I'd probably decide that. But also, they're kind of, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
I however, refuse to accept the argument they keep giving where people ask them about all the stolen data they used when they made their algorithms, and the response is, look, toothpaste's out of the tube. It's already happened. We already stole it. You can't unsteal it now. Like,
you can't unsteal it now, but we're going to keep sending people letters for pirating movies and asking them to unsteal those movies.
No, we should hold that reaction for everybody. Be like, well, I guess you already stole it. It's yours now.
It's mine. I legally own it now. I took it.
He already took that car. It's not like
I took it, and I made a computer that's going to pretend to be it, and I'm going to sell it back to you for money.
Yeah.
That's what I'm doing. Laundering art. Which brings us to our topic at hand.
Laundering art.
Which is Retro Game Challenge.
It is kind of laundering art, the game.
In a weird way. I gotta say, after the depressing news and after just I've kind of had a rough month.
Yeah. Going back
coming
to
the
Game Challenge,
the joy
nice.
that is this. Man, it was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
We have two synopses. Synopses. Synapses. A collection of your favorite retro games that never existed.
Yep.
And an Enomonius simulator. Which is a word I had to Google, which means experiencing nostalgia for something that you've never experienced.
Yes.
Release info, this was developed by Indie Zero and released for Nintendo DS in Japan as Game Center CX Aruno no Chosenjo. Published 2007, November 15th by Namco Bandai. Came out in North America 2009, February 10th by Xseed Games. The Nintendo Switch port was released on 2024, February 22nd. This is Japan only. It was bundled with its sequel, which there's two sequels. They're also Japan only. Right. And that's all we've ever seen from it, and it makes me so sad.
I realize now that I have to be careful about putting dates into the notes in ISO format, because you'll just read them exactly as they're printed.
If it's on the teleprompter, I'm going to fucking read it. We've been over this. It's been Ron Burgundy rules for a decade. Get on board, Saturn. I'm Ron Burgundy.
I put all my notes in ISO format at work because our system will auto convert it to whatever format somebody wants to read it as if you type it in that way. So I'm just used to typing that, and I realized I shouldn't have when I'm doing notes for the show.
Yeah. First Encounters. I rented this from my GameStop. For people unaware, it used to be the case, might still be, I don't know. When you worked at GameStop, you could take home a brand new video game, open the game, take the game home, and then play it, and then come back and put it back in the case and sell it like a new game. So I rented this from my GameStop when it was new and really enjoyed it. And then for whatever reason, after I returned it, I didn't go back to it for a long time. I never bought it. I think I just got distracted, I guess. I don't know. But I did rent it and played it a little bit and very much enjoyed it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I had also kind of rented this in a way. I had just gotten my first DS flash cart, and just experienced this game somehow. It just appeared on there.
And it probably said retro game, and you're like, okay, slapped it on there.
I knew what I was doing. I just I didn't pirate it. It was pirated, and I played it. You can't put it back in the tube, Justin.
Right.
So I played it on my flash cart and enjoyed it so much that I immediately hunted down a copy to purchase. And bought the game and just really enjoyed it, and then didn't play it again until this episode, and then I went back and replayed it, and man, it's just still so good.
Oh,
so good.
Fantastic.
I just finished it like this morning before I went to bed, before recording the show tonight. So I just barely squeezed in the last of the game.
I don't own it, and I remember a couple years ago I was gonna buy it, and it was like $50, and I was like, $50 for a DS game? And I looked at it today, and it was like 62 or something like that, and I was like, because I played it on my DS Pico, which also, to note, is running great, man. That thing's awesome.
Excellent.
And this is a weird tangent, but one of my favorite features of it is that whatever game you last loaded up, after you pick the DS Pico in the menu, as soon as it shows the DS Pico logo, if you hold the A button, it just boots you right back into that same game.
Oh, nice.
So it saves you the time of having to go through the emulator menu shit.
Yeah.
But I was like, I do kind of want to own this just for collectability's sake. And I was looking at the price of DS games. What the fuck happened?
They got silly.
Oh my God. Chrono Trigger on DS, which was like fodder. It was like $10. Nobody wanted it. It's like $150.
Yeah. And it was still sold new through the Square Enix store until maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it was a $20 new, half that used game for the longest time.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, man. Like, what happened to DS games used to be like cheap. Nobody gave a shit.
Yeah.
I mean, there was the weird ones like the Dragon Quest. I know the Etrian games got collectible pretty quick, but weren't really at the time.
The Dragon Quest games got stupid on there.
They did, yeah.
Also, the port of Resident Evil 1 on DS is crazy expensive now for some reason.
It's frustrating to me.
Yeah.
Let's talk development. It's based on Game Center CX, which we did an episode on 10 million years ago.
1 billion years ago, yeah.
And you wrote loosely, definitely loosely based on the show.
Right, yeah. It's not the exact same premise as the show. It doesn't play out like the show does, but it is.
Yeah.
The show is about old games and Areno playing them, and that's as much tie-in as it really needs, really.
Although in this game, Areno plays no games.
True. He just comments on you playing games.
There are some pretty blatant show references. And then some smaller Easter eggs here and there, like little Areno announces "Game On" when you start a new game, which is kind of his catchphrase. There are allusions to struggling with like holding controllers weird. There's a big in one level of Rally King. There's a big CX spilled out in oil slicks.
Also on the lap gate that you drive through in Rally King, it says CX on it.
Yes, it does. And there's also one of the hidden characters in, I guess it's pronounced, I've never pronounced it out loud, Guardia Quest? Guardia Quest.
Yeah.
Because I had called it Guardia Quest for so long. No, there's no R.
Yeah, I was calling it Gaudia, but Guardia might also be correct.
Yeah, one of the Guardias is that little Robo Areno, which we'll talk about in a minute. So there's some the fun references to the show here and there, but it doesn't really ever acknowledge that the show exists.
Right.
So take us into presentation here.
Well, yeah, this is one of the few episodes where we really want to talk about presentation, because that's really almost as important to the game as the gameplay itself here.
We both love a good framing device to begin with.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, it's basically you control a young Japanese child, either a boy or a girl, you get to choose, who is tasked by Demon Areno to go back in time and play games with young Areno.
Yeah, back to the 80s.
And Demon Areno is rendered in such a way that he kind of looks like, what's the doctor's name in Brain Age?
Brain Age guy?
Yeah, Dr. Kawashima, I think his name was.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that, and he just is supposed to be menacing, but it still looks like Areno, so he's not really menacing.
Does. Well, really, even then, the tone of Demon Areno changes throughout the game, where like there are moments when he's just kind of encouraging and nice.
And other times where he's kind of self-effacing.
Yeah, and so it's really interesting that he's never like the meanest he gets is like ha 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 you have to play games and
Right?
like,
Yeah,
oh
it's
okay well
it's goofy and fun. Yeah.
yes, it's never like actually sinister.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
And then outside of the games, you sit in Arno's home and you hang out, play video games, and read magazines, and it's great.
I love it.
everything
So
about
the
it.
bottom screen is always Arno in presumably his bedroom.
Yeah.
It's such a cute framing device. Like
It might be a family room because I mean it's
It
not
could-
like
it could
everybody
be,
had
yeah.
a TV in their bedroom at the time.
true. But it honestly evokes the feeling of being a kid and sitting around a
Yeah.
Nintendo, popping random games in. Like, despite having a very Japan forward aesthetic, like there's
Right,
tatami
right.
mats and it's a Famicom. Like they're obviously in Japan.
Yeah.
But just that vibe of a couple kids sitting around playing Nintendo.
It is a little jarring because it's got that very Japanese vibe to it, but it's also has in the localization he sounds like an American boy in his mid to late teens.
I love this. I find this so funny. It
It's
makes me think of like
ridiculous.
old anime dubs where they
Yeah.
slap like California Surfer Dude on
Yep.
some random character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of the things he
it's
says make no sense, especially when you're playing Guardia Quest since the game lasts so long. He'll
Right.
constantly comment, and if you stand still for even a second, he'll be like, "You done?
Yeah, I'm taking a nap.
You bored?" Or he'll yawn at you. One of the things he said, I didn't place exactly what it was, but it sounded like he's saying, "Are you single?"
He does. I was going to bring that one up. He asks if you're single all the time.
And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, stop asking. Stop judging me."
Yeah, it like I love the commentary. It does add to the game, but in Guardia Quest specifically, it does get a little weird because
Yeah.
like I save the game all the time, but every time you
Right.
save the game, he's like, "You got homework to do," which first
Yeah.
of all, in the framing device doesn't make sense because you aren't actually a little boy
Right.
who has homework. But
Yeah.
they don't really ever address the fact that in the course of the game, you live in Arno's bedroom for 3 years playing Famicom games and nobody ages.
Right.
And his mom doesn't seem to notice.
Yeah.
So loose framing device. It's
Right.
loose. I do want to talk about his mom.
Mhm.
His mom will occasionally shout at you to like stop playing so many games or like other TV mom like nonsense.
Well, at first she's like encouraging of you playing the games.
Yeah. In the
And-
beginning.
Yeah, and then eventually she's like, "Stop playing so many games," and then you find out that she's sneaking in there to play games whenever you're not in there.
Yep. You do get a lot of like parents just don't understand kind of exchanges.
Yeah, I think he even says that outright at one point.
Yeah. Yes. But it's like all these exchanges and stuff add to the flavor of it. There's also a lot of you talking to little Arno where he'll just in between games and you talking to Demon Arno and in between challenges, he'll ask you questions.
Yeah, they don't mean
They
anything.
They don't, but it's just flavor where it'll
Right.
just be stuff like, do you use turbo in games or do you think
Yeah.
strategy guides are cheating? Just like general.
Then he'll judge you no matter what you say.
Oh yeah, always will judge you.
Yeah,
Um,
unless he has
it's
the
just-
same answer, then he won't judge you.
My favorite Arno mom moment was they'd been playing Rally King SP and he's like, I bought some noodles for us to eat, and then you can hear his mom slurping down his noodles in the next room over. That was funny. I
Yeah,
like that
that's
one.
good.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, you
we
get
should
your
talk
magazines.
about the magazines. Yeah.
Yeah, they are meant to be themed after Japanese magazines of the time, but the localization changes them so that they're themed after American magazines, which
Yeah.
is a weird dichotomy, but it absolutely works within the game.
Yeah, they got little blurbs and reviews and previews and Q&A from like fake journalists.
Yeah.
I do like the localization on them because it really does have the kind of hokey edge
Yeah.
of like, it really feels like it's supposed to be the 80s. There's some anachronistic stuff. Like he
Yeah.
makes allusions to The Wizard, which
Right.
obviously wasn't out in Japan in 1986, when
Yeah.
he's talking about it. And the tone of the magazines feels very like late 90s teen gamer kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So it kind of turns into this nostalgia amalgamation
Right.
a little bit because of that, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Because the framing device is never so serious or so strict. It's literally just like, here's a reason for you to play old games.
Right.
And so it's kind of fine that it's a little anachronistic at
Yeah.
times or that the localization makes it a little weird. It ends up enhancing instead of detracting from it.
It feels like it intentionally leans into nostalgia goggles. Like the
Oh, yeah,
whole
for
thing
sure.
is just meant to be this is how we remember it, not how it was.
Yes. We're going to talk a lot about the games, but just kind of broad overview.
Speaking of how we remember it, not how it was.
Yes, you basically are playing kind of NES likes, I would call them.
Yeah, they're almost NES games. Obviously, they don't have flicker, they don't have sprite limitations, they don't have color limitations, but they still feel like NES games.
They feel like it, and there's some things where there's slowdown in some of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was intentional or a limitation of the DS, kind of, because the Arno's bedroom is always on your bottom screen, even when you're playing a game.
Yeah.
And you can pause and go down there and look up a code in a magazine or whatever, and then go back to playing the game. And so in my head, I was like, maybe the limitation of running both those simultaneously causes some slowdown, but also like these are such simple games. It's had to have been intentional.
Yeah,
you know?
It feels like it's intentional, but even because I was playing it on an emulator this time, and even then it was slowing down on the emulator, so it feels like it's intentional.
Yeah. Let's talk about the games that are included in this, because at the end of the day, it is a framing device with a collection of 8 new games. These are not
7.
It's not 7. Pardon me, 7 new games.
Yeah.
These are not existing games, but they are kind of meant to evoke certain nostalgia for certain other types of games.
Right.
First up, we have Cosmic Gate, which is credited at 1984 Tomato.
Yeah, a company that doesn't exist.
Not a real company.
No.
And this is the Galaga-like. This is very much. It's the first game you play. It's very much Galaga.
Sometimes it feels a little more Galaxian than Galaga.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But it's a hybrid of those two, basically.
Yeah, and you've got there is a power up that you can get. There's warps and stuff. There are bonus levels where you're shooting asteroids.
Yep.
And it's just kind of very Galaga Galaxian style.
Yeah, technologically, it's more powerful than either Galaxian or Galaga, but it definitely borrows from both of them heavily.
For sure. The next game you unlock is Robot Ninja Haggleman.
Yeah.
Which is 1985, credited to Gears. Again, none of these are real.
Right, yeah.
This one is a weird one. It feels like they're going for like a Mega Man aesthetic.
Yeah.
But then you put in the notes that it's also reminiscent of Ninja Jajamaru-kun, which I didn't even think about it. It definitely is.
Oh, yeah. It's very reminiscent of that. And it also borrows a little bit from Mappy a little bit.
Yeah, it's got like there's like a puzzle element mixed in there.
It feels like it's trying to be an amalgam of all arcade puzzle platformers from between 83 and 87, just like smushed together.
So stages are filled with lettered and colored doors. Entering the doors flips all of the same colored doors on screen and changes its color and will kill enemies if they're in front of the door.
Right.
Doing it alphabetically flips all on-screen doors regardless of color, and reverse alphabetical heals Haggleman.
Yeah.
The gameplay of this, specifically the first Haggleman, is so good.
Yeah.
Because there are so many different ways you can tackle it. You can really focus on the kind of like ongoing puzzle of the doors and really maximizing your door efficiency. You can ignore the doors entirely and just go for power-ups and just run and jump. You can also like reveal the stage boss early if you find them hiding behind a door.
Yeah.
There's a lot of it's just a really cool idea.
Yeah, it comes across as very, very simple, but it does have some complexity to it.
It does, yeah. And really, I would say kind of optional complexity. Like you can just run and jump on dudes and ignore all that shit, and you can get through the whole game. But
I'll just open the doors in alphabetical order immediately, and by the time I get to like the 5th letter, everything's dead, and I'm like, oh, I guess I should just finish the level then.
The next one is Rally King, credited to Simple Soft.
Yeah.
And it's a NES top-down little rally racing game.
Yeah. For me, it reminds me of Super Sprint, which was a similar-ish top-down racing game. But that, from what I was reading, Super Sprint was not at all popular in Japan, and they think it was more likely influenced by Road Racer or Famicom Grand Prix F1 Race, which I could see that. It does feel like those two, but it just kind of feels like a generic top-down racing game to me.
It does, and it's fun enough. It's got drifting mechanics, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, little boost mechanic thing.
There's obstacles. There's a starting boost. Like it's
got more complexity than racing games of that era probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say for a racing game that is supposed to be on a Famicom, it is relatively complex.
Yeah.
But also, it's not a very complex genre, even whenever you zhuzh it up a little bit on this platform. But it's fun enough, and it's very cute.
Yes.
The next game is Star Prince, which is you put in here very much a Star Soldier shmup, and it very much is that. And it's a pretty darn good one.
Yes. This is the one that I would go back and play sometimes when I was just wanting to play something from this collection. I would usually find myself leaning towards Star Prince.
Yeah, there's collectibles in each level. There's multiple different power-ups that you can get. There's a shield mechanic, which is very interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Where if you hold your shield and you absorb 3 small enemy bullets, it doesn't work for big projectiles, but small enemy bullets, you have like a little burst bomb that goes off.
Which is really
which one makes it a lot less bullet helly if you're not into that, which is kind of a cool accessibility thing.
Yeah.
But then also, it's just a fun mechanic to play with.
So which power up do you use?
I'm always a spread shot person. Always in every game, Vulcan's spread shot. I want as many bullets and as wide of an arc as I can ever get them. I want to guess what yours is though.
Oh,
I would guess that you like the purple missile power up.
No.
Damn, the blue one.
Normally, I go for spread shots too.
Okay,
but in this one, I was going for the blue one just because of the speed. Because if you have auto fire on and use the blue one, you can just rip through stuff.
Yeah. Next up is Rally King SP.
Yeah,
which is Rally King again, the same game.
Yes,
but sponsored by a ramen company.
So this is supposed to be a parody of those FDS games mostly that were just re-releases of prior games like All Night Nippon Super Mario Brothers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Where they just have some sponsorship tied into the same game.
Yeah. I love this idea. It's presented very cutely in the game, and you get the little bit with Arno's mom eating his noodles and stuff.
Yeah.
And while the 2 Rally King games aren't my favorite, I do enjoy that the challenges in them are, like, compared to the other games in this collection, pretty darn easy challenges.
Yeah, that's something,
it does seem...
This time,
go ahead.
It took me forever to get the boost start, and I don't know why.
Really?
Yeah.
I kept getting it on accident, and I was like, I don't know the timing on this, but I'm getting it.
Yeah, I could not. I had to...
Weird.
I eventually had to just cheat and rewind using the emulator to get it. And then once I got it the first time, then I was getting it every time. It pissed me off.
I wonder if it's an emulator quirk.
Maybe. Could be that.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember having the problem back when I played this game the first time. But for some reason this time I was really struggling with it.
I like the meta joke of the advertisement version of the game.
Yep.
And it's funny seeing the way they cheaped out in the game, because obviously this wasn't made by a ramen company. Nobody really actually cheaped out, but like in it, the sand level is turned into a snow level.
Yeah.
They just palette swap it, like the levels are the same. It's just funny to see. Like, it's cute.
That's basically the same thing they did with All Night Nippon Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Where one of the levels is a snow level, but it's really just, some color changes.
Then we have Robot Ninja Haggleman 2.
One thing I did want to say about the dumb ramen company tie-in.
Yes.
When I first played this back in the day, I was like, that's weird. That's dumb. But now, all I can think of is that Final Fantasy 15 tie-in with the ramen noodles.
Yep.
God.
Yep.
That one fucking stage here in Gladio sit there and hype up how amazing Cup Noodle is still the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen in a game, and I love it.
I have a Nissan Cup Noodle hat. It's my favorite hat.
I do love the Cup Noodle hat. It's great.
No, I mean in real life.
Oh.
It's not shaped like Cup Noodle. It's just their logo. But
all right, that's fine. Yeah.
Robot Ninja Haggleman 2, which is it's Haggleman again, but the stages are bigger.
Yeah.
I still like this game.
Yeah.
I kind of prefer the first one a little bit because
me too.
The second one, the stages are so big that you end up doing kind of a lot of just running around looking for the enemies.
If this had actually come out back in the day, I feel like people would have just said that it was padding. It was just a padded version of the first game.
I could see that for sure. Next up is the longest one, which is Guardia Quest, which you even misspelled as Guardia Quest. I swear.
I think autocorrect
grabbed
it.
it. Yeah. Which is the JRPG in the game. Yep. That's right. There's a full fucking JRPG crammed into this.
I don't know if full is the correct word, but there is a JRPG crammed into this.
In my head, I'm comparing it to the length of Dragon Quest 1.
Yeah, it's probably about third to half the length of the first Dragon Quest.
So that's pretty good for a game in a collection.
Right?
And it really didn't have to be.
No.
But it's actually a pretty fun RPG.
Yeah, it's neat. When I went into it, I expected it to just be a vanilla Dragon Quest clone, but it does bring some actual original ideas to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with the weapon
system. Oh, the weapon system is cool. So it's basically dice rolling. Like each weapon has symbols, and it rolls the symbols as you go to attack. And so you might get a weapon that does more attack, but it has more miss symbols.
Yep.
Which, first of all, is just kind of a really easy way to abstract out basic stats. Mm-hmm. Because normally you could see the same thing where you'd look at like the accuracy stat of a weapon or something like that, and all these other stats that RPGs use. But the genius of it is that, one, it abstracts it out and makes it easy, and two, it makes it cute and tactile. It's something you see whenever you go to attack. You see the little rolly thing pop up above the enemy's heads. It's good. I was surprised at the length of the game.
Yeah.
Granted, there's a lot of grinding, like a lot of grinding.
Oh, yeah.
But it's got an auto battle system, which is relatively intelligent. I do almost all my battles auto battle. It works great.
I did literally all of my battles auto battle.
Bosses, and occasionally when I would get like in the Dungeon of Darkness, there's an enemy lineup that's like a Fire Guardia and then like two other guys, and that one's a little rough, so I'll manual that one.
I just grinded out to the point where it was still just auto.
Pointless.
As soon as I got to the dungeon there's that one free healing spot. I just stayed there until I was level 18.
Yeah. But yeah, visually very Dragon Quest. Uses the Dragon Quest menu thing where you have to pop open the menu to talk or look at stuff or whatever, but just fun. You know, like if this came out on the NES, I think this could very easily have been like a little lost hidden gem. I don't think it would have had the impact that Final Fantasy or Dragon Quest did, but still, like, this is a fun game.
Yeah, it is. This is one of the games where I felt like this is probably more than the NES could have handled.
I think so too, especially with like the little rolling icons in
That's
combat
the part
and stuff.
Specifically that made it feel like a little too much. But it does feel like very Dragon Quest-y with just a splash of Phantasy Star and like the magic names.
And
a little bit of Shin Megami Tensei and the collecting monsters part.
Yes. I also, and we didn't even talk about this yet, but you can, at any point in time, again, pop down to Arno's room and open like manuals and guides and stuff, and then leave them on the bottom screen and jump back up to the top screen. And I was doing that a lot with this one to look up the names of stuff. Yeah, spell lists and item lists and things. Because some of the items have weird names. One of them's called Red Cow. And I don't remember what it does, but it's like cures sleep or something. You're like, why? So why is this called Red Cow?
When I was playing this, I pulled up, since I was playing it on an emulator anyway, I went ahead and pulled up a online guide on my second screen. And it turns out that most of the online guides for this game are only in Japanese. There's very little English language information out there. Which is also representative of 8-bit RPGs. Back when I played a shitload of 8-bit RPGs on emulators in the early days, almost all the information I could find was in Japanese and badly translated. So that also accidentally triggered some nostalgia for me. But the information that I was finding, I found one guide that was in English, but also included the Japanese translation in case you were playing the Japanese version of the game. And as part of it, he translated what the original Japanese names for all the items were, and they made more sense in Japanese. So not only is this a good 8-bit game, but it is also evocative of all of those shitty translations I had to deal with back in the day. So another layer of nostalgia.
Poorly translated the item names,
right? Yeah, it's accurate to the era, but infuriating as somebody who had to live through the era.
There is also, when you go to stay at an inn, the guy asks if you feel asleep.
Yeah.
I caught that little Easter egg.
Yeah,
stuck
a
in
reference
there.
to the first Metal Gear.
The final game is Robot Ninja Hagoman 3, which you put Ninja Gaiden clone. It's also very Shinobi-y.
Yeah, it's somewhere between Ninja Gaiden and Shinobi. I'll give it that.
Yeah. It's not quite as snappy as Ninja Gaiden, but it's also not quite as kind of floaty as Shinobi-y.
Right, yeah.
It does have full cutscenes between levels in which Hagoman chats with the summon companions from the earlier games.
Yeah.
And they all have personalities, and it's very weird, and it's very much like not the same as the first two games at all. It's a complete pivot,
completely different.
Now it's kind of
The
I almost want to call
the tone is more Ninja Gaiden than the older games, but it still has like an underlying Mega Man reference that the earlier games had.
Yes.
Very strange.
There's like I almost want to call it like a proto search action. It's not quite there, but there's a little bit of like running around, backtracking, getting different items to go to different areas. Like it's not a search action, but it's
backtracking within the same level though.
Yeah, it is, but it's there's just like a little sprinkling of it in there,
like little mini teeny tiny search action games inside of a bigger game.
Yeah.
Also, it has Hagoman Lady now.
I love Hagoman Lady.
Yes.
And even little Arno is like, why is it Hagoman Lady? What is this?
Is she a man or a lady? What's going on here?
Hagoman Lady.
I love that name so much. It's so great.
Great. So that's all the games. As far as general notes, each game has its share of secrets, cheats. Yep. Each game comes with a manual that will often reveal some critical information.
And also you get a issue of the magazine around the time you get every game that will also reveal some information for you.
And we'll talk about the magazine in a moment, but I just the thoroughness to add in the cheats and secrets and the amount of them in each game. Again, totally unnecessary to what this collection really needed to be, and adds so much.
Oh yeah, it makes them feel more real than they really should be.
Yeah, and like the feeling of getting a new issue of the magazine and it having a cheat for the game that you've been struggling with.
Right.
And then having it open on the bottom screen as you play it on the top screen so that you can see the cheat to put it in.
Yep.
It really does something. Does something magical here. So let's talk
magazines.
magazines.
It scratches an itch I didn't know I had.
Yes. Let's talk magazines. Yep. In the game, I think they're the title of the magazine is Game Fan.
Yeah, it's Game Fan magazine, named after Game Fan magazine. That's only in the English version. In the Japanese version, it's something else. I don't remember exactly what it is. But
these all unlock. What I love about this is they're not consecutive. So like you're missing issues in between and stuff.
Just like in real life.
Again, feels very real. Like you go to someone's house and be like, yeah, I got Nintendo Power, and they're missing like every third issue because you weren't subscribed. You just bought them at the grocery store or whatever. The localization in here is great. I love all the little bits and blurbs. A lot of the magazines, like really each magazine is there to deliver a couple of cheats to you to make the challenges easier. Because Demon Arno will come in and be like, here's a new challenge. And you're like, man, that seems really tough. And then the new magazine has a cheat that makes that specific challenge easier.
Yeah. And I love this because it implies that Arno, the person, is like, I'm going to challenge you to do this thing that I did as a kid because I had so much struggle with it. And then you realize that young Arno was able to do this because he had this issue of the magazine, which you now have right in front of you.
Yes.
That's great.
There are articles, there's pictures of the journalists in there. There's a lot of fun, silly references. Now, I
was struggling to find any information about the localization of this game because I wanted to find out how Xseed did this, because I don't know this definitively, but I think they actually got some of the journalists from back in the day to agree to put their own likenesses in the game, because it's absolutely parodies of old
specific
journalists.
People.
Specific people. I wrote down the ones that I was able to identify.
And some of them I saw their pictures and I was like, they look really, but it's a tiny little DS screen.
Right.
Like, is that?
Yeah, I couldn't tell if it was actually them or not.
I don't know.
But it definitely looks like them, and it uses names that are either exactly or very close to the actual journalists from back in the day.
Yeah. So we have Dave H, which is Dave Halverson, founder of Game Fan.
Yeah.
Milkman, which you put is probably James Milky, which
Yeah.
who was around in in EGM.
And he went as James Milkman Milky in EGM back then.
Yeah. Dan Sock, which can only be Dan Shu.
Yes.
Also from EGM.
Yeah.
Johnny England, which could be John Davison.
Yeah,
from
my guess is
EGM.
John Davison, but I'm not certain on that one.
Greg, you seemed unsure. Maybe Greg
Yeah.
Stewart. You know.
Maybe Greg Off. One of those two.
And then NRX, Nick Rocks of Game Fan.
Which, if you haven't followed up on what's been happening in Nick Rocks' life, don't do that. That's a
I have not
mistake.
been, and now I'm scared. Oh my gosh.
He was arrested a couple of years ago for sending inappropriate information to minors.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Well,
yeah.
gross.
Yep.
That's gross.
Yeah.
What's funny to me is the magazine is named Game Fan, but most of the people they're riffing off of are from EGM.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's great. The magazine is great. A lot of
yeah.
it again is just flavor and jokes and in jokes and silliness. But it adds a ton. And thankfully the cheats are always like they're kind of orange colored.
Yeah. They
So if you're
stand
like, I
out.
don't want to read the fluff, I just want to scroll to the cheat, you can just
Yeah.
scroll to it real fast, find it pretty easy,
and
which is
I'm
nice.
pretty sure that those are actual pictures of Dave Halverson.
Yeah.
And the rest of them too, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it's Dave Halverson, and I think he had owned the rights to the name Game Fan at that point, and so he'd probably just let them use it. That's
Yeah.
my guess of how all this came to be, but again, it's just a guess because I couldn't find any definitive information.
Right. And then you have the actual reason you're here to play the game, which strangely kind of takes a back seat to so much of the rest of it, which is you are challenged to complete these certain tasks given to you by Demon Arano, so that he'll turn you back into a regular human in your time.
Yeah.
Because you're trapped in the past now.
Right.
And you want to get out for some reason. I don't know why you'd want to leave.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to. I'm fine.
You got to play
there.
Famicom for 3 years in a kid's bedroom in the 80s. I'd much rather be doing that than
5 years.
You know, was it 5? Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
it starts in 83 and it ends in 89. Or 84
I do love that
the
the very, because it'll be like the next era and it like moves the date up,
Yeah.
and the very last era is December 31st, 1989, the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
Which it just makes me think of that Simpsons joke when those two hippies are like, yeah, man, it seemed like the 60s ended the day we sold our van on December 31st, 1969.
Yeah.
Which is the dumbest joke.
Yeah.
But it made me think of that. I
Right.
love it. I don't know if we really want to go through all of these.
I just put them in there in case there was any specific ones we wanted to talk about.
But I was looking through them. The Cosmic Gate ones are pretty easy because you get the warps.
Yeah.
The Haggleman ones, Haggleman 1 and 2 challenges were they were pretty tough because there's no level select in those games. There's no level select cheats.
Oh yeah, so you do have to play through the stages.
You do have to
within
actually play through. Rally King, both those have level select cheats. So even when you get to the, you need to play all the way through the fourth stage, you can just cheat to
Haggleman
it.
2 did have a level select cheat.
Oh yeah, it did, didn't it?
Yeah, but I
first
think
one,
the magazine doesn't tell you what the cheat is until after you finished that section though.
that challenge, yeah. Guardia Quest, it's really the
Mostly
toughest
grinding.
challenges. Mostly grinding stuff, and then obviously beating a boss. But then there's a way, because we haven't talked about it, but the final challenge is to complete all of the games.
Yeah.
But there's a way to cheat and roll credits on Guardia Quest in the very first town, and it counts for completing it. For people
Well,
that
it's
don't
just
wanna play
outside
it.
of the first town.
Yeah, it's near it.
Yeah.
Haggleman 3 has okay cheats, which help out some, but mostly it's that one you kind of just sort of got to play straight.
Yeah.
I was trying to think of the cheats in it. What are there any?
There's skip to the boss. There's
That's what it
immediately
is.
give yourself 99 lives and immediately give yourself 99.99 of the in-game currency.
Skip to the boss and 99 lives is what
Yeah.
it was. Yeah. And then the final challenge in it feels like a joke. It's just kill 100 enemies, and it's like I'm doing that anyway.
Right.
I tried so hard to roll credits, but I ran out of time. I still need to beat Haggleman 3. I need to roll credits on Guardia Quest and beat Haggleman 3.
The bosses in
and then I
Haggleman
think
3
I
look
got it.
really cool. They really do look
They
like late NES bosses.
They remind me of Astyanax.
Yeah.
Where they always have those big, weird, gross bosses. Although there were some big, weird, gross bosses in Ninja Gaiden. The final boss was that big, gross monster thing, demon dude.
And it does specifically remind me of Astyanax just because the screen always goes to black background whenever the boss shows up. Because so the big. NES couldn't handle all of it at once with a regular stage in there.
I love that little Arno has to comment on it too. He's like, the bosses are so big.
Yeah, right.
So good.
Which back then, that was such a cool thing. Giant sprites were amazing back then.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Let's talk reception.
Mm-hmm.
You put in here that Metacritic gave it a 77. Well, they didn't give it. They aggregated a 77, which is offensively low to me.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm offended by how low that score is.
Well, I imagine that a lot of the people when this game came out weren't interested in old blocky games.
Fuck them. That's all I got.
Yeah. Yeah, I am also pretty offended by that because, man, this has got to be one of my top DS games and maybe one of my top games of that entire era when this game came out.
Yeah.
It's just such a great collection of not real games presented in such a fantastic way. And I am personally offended that we didn't get any of the sequels, but I did find comments from people at Xseed who are like, we just didn't make any money on this game. We couldn't afford to have translated any of the sequels.
Which I get. And there is a fan translation of the second game.
Correct, yeah.
Which I've not dug too far into. I have it downloaded, but I haven't dug too far into. Speaking of, let's talk Legacy. Just kind of getting into it. So go ahead and tell us about the kind of non-existent, unfortunately, legacy of this game.
Now, as far as reception, I will say Game Informer listed it as one of their top 50 games of 2009, which 50 is a lot of games, but at least they gave it some credit.
That's good.
I'll commit. Now, their actual review for the game had like a 75, so fuck them.
What the fuck, man?
I don't know. Anyway, so there were the two sequels. There's one on NDS, one on 3DS. Neither released outside of Japan. As you mentioned, there is a fan translation for that first one. The 3DS game was made by G-Rev instead of Indie Zero. Seems to be less well received than the first two, even in Japan, but still, some people are saying it's still worth playing. There is a Switch compilation of the first two games, again, Japan only. And also, the game did so well that they made a TV series based on it. In fact, they went back in time and made the TV series before the game itself came out, which I think really in the spirit of the game of going back in time. Yeah,
on theme.
Like, good on them.
I as far as final thoughts, the games in this collection did not need to be this legitimately good or lengthy to accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
This could have been a totally fun and memorable collection of like NES remix style games.
Yeah, it could have been a bunch of little 5-second challenges and still would have worked. But
yeah, instead we get over half a dozen relatively lengthy and enjoyable Famicom style game. And on top of that, the cuteness and nostalgia factor of the framing device, it's absolute must play. There is no other experience that is more evocative of being a kid sitting in front of your Nintendo playing cartridges. And I want to point this specific one thing out because I forgot about it. And it's because we talk a lot about on this show about like what it was really like.
Yeah.
And the way that it is remembered and how they are two separate things, right?
Yeah.
How people are playing like RGB modded Super Nintendos on PVMs and they're like, this is authentic. And you're like, no, that's nice. It's cool that you did that. I'm glad you like it. That is not authentic to the experience.
Yeah.
And there, it's just not.
It's high quality, but we didn't have high quality back then. We were sitting on our asses eating ramen noodles playing video games.
And what I love about this is that until the very end, none of the challenges, I think one of the Hagoman ones technically require you to finish the game, but it's one of those games you got to play twice anyway.
Yeah.
They don't require you to finish the game.
I almost put this in the notes too.
And I love that because that is how we played games. We'd be like, oh man, I finally beat level 2. We've been stuck there for so long. And that was the excitement.
Yeah. You would go to school. You weren't bragging about having finished the game. You'd be bragging about beating Woodman.
Yeah, or you found some secret or something like. And that was so much of the social culture around games at the time that it wasn't necessarily like I beat every single game 100%, found everything. It was like, hey, I got 200,000 points. I beat stage 8. I found this secret area. Like those were things to be celebrated too.
Yeah.
Those are things we were excited about too. And that makes this feel so much more evocative because you really are just a couple kids flipping through cartridges. Hey, cool.
Yeah.
All right. I destroyed a giant asteroid. Let's play Haggleman now. Cool.
Right.
All right. I beat stage 4 and I didn't even die. Like that's what it was like.
Oh yeah.
And nothing is more evocative of that experience than this specific game.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal in that regard. I go ahead.
I did want to mention, as far as Legacy goes, I forgot to put it in the notes, but Indie Zero, who developed this, they also, in addition to making the Theater Rhythm games, which I do love the Theater Rhythm games, they also went on to make NES Remix 2.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, and that NES World Championships game for Switch.
Really?
Recently.
So this is their thing.
This is their thing, and they're very good at it, and that's great.
Yeah, this is the framing device really makes this package sing. This is a stellar A+ must play.
Absolutely,
absolute fantastic game in my book. Everyone that would want to listen to this show would probably get a kick out of it.
Yeah, and if you haven't played it, you absolutely must. It is.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
Mandatory.
It's so good.
And just to bring everybody down, I want to take a moment to point out that this game is now older than a lot of the games that it was riffing on were when it released.
Shut the fuck up, Saturn.
No.
What is it with you in this episode and saying things that don't need to be in the world?
Sorry, you just needed to
Stop
know
it.
that.
Oh my God.
This game is almost 20 years old now.
I was thinking about it. I was like a kid that was born in the early 2000s that's like in their mid-20s now could play this and be like, what the fuck is this? Like they wouldn't, I could see someone just not getting it.
Yeah.
The
only thing about this game that is not realistic is that kid being able to afford all these games.
This is true. Yeah. And they're like, oh, it just came out and I got it. And the magazine to go with it. Like, oh,
the
rich
difference,
kid, eh?
The difference in reality would have been, I saved up all my money and I got this magazine and was able to rent the game. That's what the reality would have been.
Yes.
Though in Japan, they didn't have rentals, so it's different.
Or it'd be like, I saved up all my money and I went to the store and they didn't have it for 2 or 3 weeks. And so I bought this used copy of Mickey Mouse Capades and I hate it, but I'm going to play it because I spent $17.99 on it.
Oh man, I remember, speaking of Mickey Mouse Capades specifically, we got a copy of that game used at a Kmart that was in a Ziploc bag. That's how they sold their used games at Kmart. They're in Ziploc bags with a little Kmart branded piece of cardboard stapled to the top of the Ziploc bag so that it would hang on the shelf.
This is amazing.
Yeah. Anyway.
Please go play Retro Game Challenge.
Yes. If you haven't, you must. It's important.
Also, please go to our Patreon.
Indeed.
Patreon.com/Retro Warriors, where you can get Talking Wizards and the other things. There's links in the description.
It's read along. You can watch it live on Patreon now. We'll be there.
You can. We'll be there, presuming my internet holds up.
Yeah, it's held up for most of this episode, which is great.
It has. It's nice. It's been nice. Yeah. It's like living in the future.
You're in the future, Justin.
We want to thank the following patrons for their money. Starting with Adam Williams
and Adam Klugowitz,
Cosmic A,
The Games That Made Us podcast,
Brian Kim,
Michael Castro,
Chronolingua,
Christopher Crook,
A Discontinued Cigarette.
I don't know if this is supposed to be UPS Dad or Upstad.
I think it's UPS Dad, I would assume.
It probably, but I like Upstad.
Upstad, the enemy of Downs Dad.
That sounds like what you tell your dad when you want him to pick you up.
Yeah, Upstad. Anyway, it's almost 1 a.m., so I'm going to go to bed.
No.
I'm tired.
No, it's fine.
We'll be back next week.
We'll do one more episode first, then you can go to bed.
Yeah, thank you for listening. We'll be back next week. And as always, let us cling together.